So could you briefly tell us a wee bit about yourself and Talking Medicine, what you do, and I guess how you got involved with Cis Ventures?
Cool, certainly. Thank you. So first of all, thank you for inviting me, and thank you for people who are listening. I can see some names that I recognise. Hi to Rob and Alistair and the team. So it's great to be here. So I'm Jo Halliday, CEO of Talking Medicines, and maybe by way of background, my own background is in marketing. I left university straight into Coca-Cola as Coke brand manager. So I did a lot of corporate roles. And then really as the years went on, I turned to more entrepreneurial roles, startups, and have really been through 3 startups myself. And for me, this whole area of startups and scaling businesses is just, a challenge that is brilliant to take on and really be able to make an impact along the way, which I'm sure we'll come back to. So Talking Medicines as a company, we were formed in 2013, so we've been around for a fair while. I'm one of 3 founders, so along with Scott Cray and Elizabeth Fairley. We run a company that captures the voice of the patient. And what we mean by that is we're capturing how, who, when, and why people take their medicines. We really believe that the story about how people take their medicines starts at home. And the blind spot for the industry, and the industry being the companies who make drugs, so the pharmaceutical companies, their blind spot basically starts at where people take their prescription from the chemist and take it to home. So there's a blind spot towards what actually happens with that medicine in terms of how people take it. And that has an impact on the effectiveness of the medicine. And, the whole industry revolves about people getting better. So we believe that we can really fill a void in terms of understanding the patient, what they're saying, and how they take the medicine. And we've really formed a business around that.
Really interesting, and obviously it's a particular poignant time for you to be operating. So when you say you get information on customers and how they're taking medicine, so for example, if I was taking medicine for, say, alopecia and also something for eczema, like that type of combination, you would have that type of information which is very specific to me, if that was the case. And also in terms of demographics, I'm like assuming so a pharmaceutical company doesn't know if it's producing something for an 85-year-old or a 10-year-old, or so it's that kind of level of information and detail which helps to drive the data, which then drives and informs medicine. Interesting, you were talking about the kind of startup journey and the different kind of phases you went through. I wonder if you can just kind of briefly kind of touch on those different phases and any kind of experiences of operating in Scotland with, firstly, I guess this venture. You spoke before about starting as a consultant and then how that grew. If you could just kind of
so in terms of my own journey. I came up from London 22 years ago. We live in Kilmacombe, just outside Glasgow, and we intended to stay for about a year, and we've been here for 22 years. So I very much had an experience of building businesses in Scotland, which I think is amazing. And when we set up Talking Medicines, we had the choice between, do we want to locate in London and travel, or do we want to locate nearer to homes and be in Scotland? And we definitely very proactively chose to be in Scotland. And the support around startups is absolutely huge. But if I go back to my own journey, to the first startup or even the second one, I wasn't aware of the system and the supports that were available. I have always had a really good experience with Scottish Enterprise and the support they give, but that probably was the limit to where I got to. And now, having come a lot further with Talking Medicines, I can see how much support and, financial support is really important, but so are networks and support structures. And I think Scotland does it better than so many other places. And, we recently, we won a prize at Tech Nation in terms of being one of the 10 most promising companies. Now, I wouldn't have known about Tech Nation. Hazel Jane does an amazing job in Scotland at really supporting young companies coming through. And it's only because of that network that we knew that Tech Nation even existed. And now come COVID, the support from networks like Tech Nation, Women's Enterprise Scotland, CIS, the support has been huge. And so I suppose even in my own journey, I just wish I'd known more about the support that was available earlier on. But now that we do know, we really feel that we can make the most of it. And we really feel that being in Scotland makes a difference compared to, a tech company coming out of London or other regions where it's harder to find that support. And I think the network, particularly amongst founders and companies to help each other, has just dialed up during this crisis. And it's been huge for us, absolutely huge.
And sometimes if you're aware of networks around about you and all of the opportunities that you can tap into, having the experience of knowing what to actually ask for is very important. And so you've been through a period of running a few different startups. In this experience, if you were giving advice to someone who was navigating the system and thinking about, so how can I make best use of people's time or the asks of this organisation, what would you say are the important things to consider and ask of your networks, ask of these different support companies around it?
I think it is being open and building networks, being prepared to go outside your comfort zone and, to find others like you. And I think in this scale up journey, funding is always the central driver, because you have to stay alive. And I think, you're always seeking, where are we going to be funded from, how we survive, who is around us. And I think building that team around you, and funding is central to that, of good people with good networks, just means that you can really, broaden the people you can speak to and the options that are available to you, because it's not always the most obvious option that will really work. And CIS Ventures, is a good example, has added a completely new network for us in terms of, really being able to dial up our social impact, but also, people who really have helped drive our business. So I think it's just being open-minded, getting out there, and networking with people. People always say network, but it is true. You really do need to, because it's too isolating just to run your own company in your own mind. So I think so.
Absolutely. And this is a new normal behind us that we were chatting about before. We've got family.
I think that's the dog.
Oh, good. Okay, we can see that too.
The dog arriving.
Right on cue. And it's really good advice, I think, to give people to network, but actually know what you're looking for. Going to a room and doing it for the sake of it is not as effective as actually knowing what are the questions you need to ask and what is your ask of different people. You mentioned support during COVID. Now you're an organisation that's running a data and a tech company that gives insights into how the pharma industry can best respond to patients' needs. Pretty good time in a lot of ways to be operating. I wonder if you can just chat through the support you've had during COVID and the opportunities that are coming along and your your hopes for how you can jump on opportunities and capitalise on them.
Yeah, no, I think, we are definitely in a very rich area, in the sense that, medicines have never been important, and people are definitely taking more care of themselves. One of the biggest problems that we address is the fact that only 50% of people take their medicines. And that's because they forget, they don't believe in their medicines, they don't understand why they're taking them. Well, during COVID, it's never been more important that if you've got underlying health conditions, asthma, heart disease, you really need to be taking your medicines. And, we've definitely seen a really high engagement from people about understanding their existing health problems, because they don't want to become ill and even more susceptible to COVID. So what we've been very much doing is, if we come back to talking medicines, we capture data, and we do that through some free tools. So we've got an app called MedSmart. We've got a database of all the medicines in the UK, so that we can safely link people to their medicines. So if they scan the barcode code on the medicine pack, we can surface up information about that medicine and tools about how to take it. So whether that's a reminder or they want to watch a video about, what is that medicine about. So we help people for free, and in return they're giving us data, and that's this data for good. If we can drive data about anonymously how people take medicines, we can drive the patterns of how to make that support more effective or the medicines more effective. So during COVID, we're really keen to push the tools that we've got. So MedSmart's a connected device, really important to us. We're going back on TV next month because we really want that message to get out there about, just take that little bit of control will make a difference to your health. We're also surveying our community. So we're just staying very close to the pulse effectively of what people are thinking and doing during COVID. And we've been amazed at how many people are willing to engage, in surveys, questions, particularly 60, 70, 80-year-olds. There's always this myth, we're a digital company, and people, I think you asked the question at the beginning, what's your age profile? We go from young to old. We have a lot of young people. They might be managing contraception as a lifestyle choice and they don't want to forget, or they may have mental health issues, or they may have asthma. But we also have an older population who have a number of health conditions and a number of medicines that they're taking. Well, during COVID, those people have been brilliant in terms of wanting to talk, wanting to tell us, the experience that they're going through. And we can see as a lot of people not going out of their houses. They literally are not going out of their houses, which will cause, other issues in themselves, but they're being extremely compliant, and they're looking for information. They're seeking information about their own health or about what's going to be happening. So we're staying very close to our connected devices. We also capture and structure social media feeds, so we understand at an anonymous level what people are saying. So we've built out our tool, particularly during COVID, to really listen in to, what is it that people are saying about medicines? What is it that they're saying about side effects? What are they saying about what they feel about COVID? And we're very much looking at first patient accounts for there, where people have actually, either self-diagnosed or been diagnosed with COVID. And the reason we're doing it is really for our capabilities to show, how we can use our tools, but also we always want to be patient-centric. Patient is at the center of everything we do. So by understanding the patient, we're better in terms of being able to visualize our data and really be relevant at this point in time. We have other connected devices. We have a new device that we're going to launch on Friday, which is called Care Connect, which links healthcare professionals with patients through a video call. And it's a product that we had already within our portfolio. And this one is less about data collection. It's more about the connection, but it's an important one because it connects health professionals and very sick people. And again, we've had a lot of interest in that. So we brought out another version so that we can go quicker to market. So to answer your question, we feel we're in a strong position. As a team, we've all got to stay well, and we want everybody around us to be well. So we're very careful about how we're working. But we believe that, there probably has never been a more important time to really understand this world of medicines, particularly when they're launched.
Absolutely. So, I mean, it is just such an important time to understand the world of medicine, and thinking about some of these the products you got. You mentioned Care Connect. Could I ask you about the kind of the business model, because it's not a new business model, but in Scotland the idea of mission driven businesses is one we're all kind of becoming more alive to. In terms of the impact that you create, can you talk about how you use profits, the mission of your business, to create impact? It's intrinsic in what you do, but you were talking about some of the products where you might make a profit and some that are free.
No, absolutely. So, we believe our mission is to drive more effective medicines, so for the individual. So, at the base of everything we do, the thing that connects it all is driving more effective medicines. In terms of the impact that we have, it's a really, really hard one in healthcare, because everything's for good, because of course you want people to be better, but it's really hard to measure, and there's a lot of intangibles. And if we were to say we can make people better, then obviously it's going too far. What we can do is help drive people to take more control, and it's that we measure. So a measure of control is somebody feeling that they've got their medicines, they understand them, and they're taking them, which is linked to something called adherence, taking your medicines as prescribed. So our social impact measure, and we've worked very hard with Rob and the CIS team, is around moving that forward, and we can survey that. So there are surveys out there that we don't make up, that we take, and we can basically say from an outside point of view, are we making a difference? And the reason we can make a difference is because we've got free tools that help people take their medicines along the way. And then we also believe that we can have a longer term impact through the pharmaceutical industry, because if medicines become more effective, again, it drives that whole ecosystem. So we are a with profits business, but we believe that we can do social good along the way. And we believe that, it's the entity we capture, we curate data, we visualize data, and it's that circle of data for good that we really want to drive. Because if, somebody living with an illness can help somebody else by sharing their experience, we want to be the conduit for that. So that's kind of where our social impact model has come from.
And I can imagine there's a lot of power within the data that you're capturing in terms of messaging to people. So at this point in time, some of the messages we're getting across TV, on social media, wherever else, there's clear messages about staying at home and the fact that you're saving lives and protecting the NHS. I can imagine for the business that you're running, you're collecting key insights about perhaps how messaging is being received, and there's probably some insights that governments, pharma companies can then glean from their messaging as to how effective it is and how to better protect the public.
Yep. No, when we sign people into our system, into the MedSmart community, we're asking permission to ask some questions. And that's very much being able to say, does that messaging work? Does that messaging not? And that could be from a pharmaceutical company, or it could be from healthcare providers. But we very much see that as, a really important part of what we do, because, it's a blind world if you can't actually see that you have an impact. And there's different cohorts of people within. You said you might be taking a medicine for alopecia. Well, there will be young guys taking them, there will be older guys, so there are different personas, as we call them, and really understanding the way to communicate with the different groups of people is really, really important. And we can definitely get to that through our data.
I guess from a kind of personal point of view, for you running a business at the moment, we spoke before, you were unable to work from home with a dog from the word go. In terms of looking after your own health as a leader going through COVID, it can be a stressful time. I think, both because for some businesses you might be losing income or losing work. For some businesses, actually, you might have to respond quickly to the change and to the opportunities that present themselves, even when you don't really know fully what the opportunities might be. Any reflections or advice on how your team have been doing and ways to keep yourself healthy and focused during COVID?
Yeah, no, I think we've been a busy team, so I think that helps. We're busy, and there's lots of positives for us. So we have been really working very hard. We're all working from home. We're using Teams. We all catch up at 9 o'clock every day, try and see each other, keep each other motivated. And there's definitely upsides and downsides. The upside is, I think, we're being very efficient. The downside is you don't get the interaction with people, and we've got to watch for that kind of over time. So it'll be very interesting when we can start to get back together, and how do you do that with social distancing, and I think ultimately everybody has to stay well, and our team will well, so everything's very upbeat. So it hasn't actually been difficult for us as a tech company to switch to home working, but you know, times are very different when every meeting is online and you know you're not really seeing anybody apart from your family, your children and your dog. So you know, they definitely, it's new times for all of us, but we find it quite exciting, as in, you know, there is so much ahead of us, and as long as we can keep adding value, you know, our customers may not be buying, it may be difficult, but you know, as long as a young company we can keep adding value to, you know, why are we here and what can we do that makes a difference. So we just have to be really, really focused.
In terms of the period we're going through, there's things you responded to, and there's opportunities. We don't know as a country when we'll be out of lockdown in different periods, but certainly we're all finding new ways to work and new opportunities within our organisations. Has your plan, I guess it has your plan for Talking Heads changed significantly pre-COVID to where you are now, and have you revised and are you revisiting your plan for the company following that? And do you have any kind of thoughts on how that might impact your scale, your reach, your impact?
Yeah, no, I think it has changed, because I think we just had to really regroup and focus.
Yeah.
But we're also looking at the post-COVID world. So for us, post-COVID, you know, our industry probably looks quite different, because, you know, there's quite a lot of inertia towards digital, to change. You know, from a pharmaceutical company point of view, they're very, very slow to adopt, because they've got so many policies and procedures to keep people safe. So, you know, even when it comes to digital health, it's wrapped in the same as, you know, the same kind of standards as manufacturing. So it's a difficult market to work in, but post-COVID it will look very different, because people have had to change. So we're taking quite an approach to kind of what can we do now that adds value, but also what can we look like coming out of it. And you know, we probably want to be more digital, and you know, as a digital company we want to dial up the way people can access our products, our service online. We want to be more global. You can see that, you know, the importance of the different countries, you know, with COVID, with everything, with medicines, we want to be more globally orientated. So, you know, we're now starting to look, and we're capturing the voice of the patient, you know, not just in the UK. So I suppose, you know, we've just become very, very focused on what can we do for now, but also what can we look like when we come out, and what can help us get there. And then we've just got to be very lean and very on top of everything, so that we can get there, and we can get there in a good way, so that, you know, at that point we're ready for another scale. So I think we're not off plan at all, but if anything, it's probably strengthened our plan, because we've just made sure that, you know, we're doing what we want to do because it makes a difference, and we're very clear about what our company looks like at the other end of it. So yeah, it's been not something that we all expected to come along, but it has come along, and you know, it's kind of, you have to deal with it, and bring the team along with us. So it's certainly been interesting times, and as you say, we don't know how long it will go on for, but you know, we're ready for however long it takes.
Fantastic. And a kind of final question before we close off. Obviously, Sys Ventures are brilliant, and I'm sure it's been a great experience of working with us. But if you were giving advice to people within the space that you're working in, so generally looking at raising investment and thinking about the journey that you've been on, asking for money, what would you say you could be aware of when going to investors, thinking about your pitch, and also things that you've learned about raising investment, perhaps that you would tell other people?
Yeah, no, I think, you know, with raising investment, it's always about your value proposition and being really clear on what it is you do and what you don't do, and really sticking to it. The biggest thing I've learned is product market fit. You know, you may have the best idea and it will work brilliantly, but it still needs the market to need it and want it. And you may have to create that demand if it's not there at the moment. So a lot is about timing, and being able to keep a sustainable company whilst that product market fit happens. So, you know, we've learned a lot about that, and you know when it's happening because you've got deals popping here, there and everywhere, and everyone wants your data or your service. So, you know, you're always working towards that. So I think in approaching investors, you can waste a lot of time. You can have conversations when you're at the wrong stage. You know, it's just not going to happen. it's a difficult journey raising investment, but the good thing about Cis Ventures for us has been mixing it up, having social investment amongst our private investors, along with Scottish Investment Bank, who again have been great partners. So having the mix is really good, because again, that is different networks that come together. And it's really nice, just like having a diverse founding team. It's really important to have a diverse investor base, because it gives us that kind of mix in there. So I think we've had a journey where it's mainly been private investment, but bringing in Cis Ventures at the last round and SIB has definitely been a big benefit to us.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Jo. I know you're off on another call after this one. Thank you very much for your time. It's been extremely insightful. I had a pleasure to hear about talking medicines, and great that we're involved in your journey. So thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.